Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and it is that time of year. The weather is getting better, it's getting warmer. In fact, right now, actually, it's super hot out, but a thunderstorm just came through, which is fantastic. If you're wondering why I'm mentioning this, it's because at the beginning of this video, I was going to record it with the window open. My desk is right next to the window, and I thought it was going to be kind of nice, like the sound of rain, a little bit of sound of thunder in the background as I was recording, but with the noise gate and stuff like that, it kind of just sounded like somebody was pissing kind of like off microphone, so I decided that was not a good idea. But it's that time of year, right? The summer is coming, the weather is getting better, and Call of Duty leaks are happening, and inadvertently I ended up being one of the first people to leak stuff for Warzone 2. That was weird, considering I'm not a Warzone content creator by any stretch of the imagination, and since then a lot more information has come out. We've had the quote-unquote leaked gameplay that everyone is making such a big stir about, but the leaked gameplay apparently was like 1+ year old. It was like an AK variant and somebody walking through a field with an inspect animation. Like, that was literally it. Not a whole lot of actual details there. It's like a 10-second long bit of footage, nothing really all that interesting, but I suppose if you think about the inspect animation, if that gameplay turns out to be real, then that's kind of good news for Modern Warfare. I mean, need we look back at Call of Duty Vanguard here? We waited 100 days for this beauty of an inspect animation to finally be added to the game. I assume they fixed that by now, but 100 days into the game's life cycle, we got that inspect animation. And inspect animations, for some reason, just have not been like launch day content for COD in like 3 years. It's been crazy. It's made no sense really whatsoever. So if Modern Warfare 2022 has inspect animations right from the very beginning, that does seem to signify that there is at least going to be some level of polish for the game at launch, which is good. I mean, that's definitely good news if that gameplay in fact does turn out to be true. I don't know. I mean, people are saying it is. We really have no idea. Take all information with a grain of salt, of course, when we're talking about leaked information here in the Call of Duty franchise. But we've got some more news to cover here. This is coming from Ralph's Valve, who is actually somebody who's been leaking a lot of COD information over the course of the past couple of years. He is backed by other credible leakers, such as Tom Henderson. So definitely take this with a grain of salt, but it does seem to be pretty reliable. He claims that June 8th is going to be the reveal of Modern Warfare 2022. If we're talking about multiplayer, that is going to be the reveal on June 8th, and then the next day on June 9th, we should be seeing, according to him, some raw footage of single player of Modern Warfare 2022 at Summer Games Fest, though host Jeff Keighley is not exactly saying one way or the other whether or not Activision is going to be there. Summer Games Fest is something that sometimes has big studios, other times it's a way to showcase a bunch of smaller games. Last year we actually saw a good number of really good smaller games there, and so Activision Blizzard may be there, they may not be there, but according to Ralph Valve, June 8th will be the multiplayer reveal, and June 9th will be the single player reveal, which seems kind of backwards. Normally they do like the single player stuff first, then multiplayer, but again, we'll have to wait and see. We then have this article right here. This is what people have been talking a lot about over the course of the past couple of days. Skill-based matchmaking within Modern Warfare 2022, DMZ, and Warzone 2. It's going to be revamped. It's going to be different in one way or the other. And this is what we actually see straight up in the article. An associate close with Activision Blizzard describes skill-based matchmaking as complicated but pragmatic. We're always looking for ways on improving every facet that contributes to a product's success. That's the initiative. Skill-based matchmaking is one of those things, as it's really a matter of trial and error. So the idea, apparently from within, coming from this associate that's close with Activision, is that skill-based matchmaking is necessary, and we've heard so many arguments for and against skill-based matchmaking over the years. It seems like typically people in the community are against the idea of skill-based matchmaking, and then they cite the fact that way back in the day, when a lot of us started playing, skill-based matchmaking didn't really exist. Then we had some people say that, well, yes, it did exist. Actually, people that worked on COD were like, yes, skill-based matchmaking was a thing, going back to games like Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 1 and so on and so forth, and then the community comes back with, well, it wasn't as crazy as it is now, which I think is actually fair to say. If you go back to the old days, it just wasn't as bad as it is now, and there's definitely lots of levels we could debate this. I mean, we could talk about the overall skill increase of the average player in the Call of Duty franchise. I mean, the franchise is, what, 15 plus years old? Actually, if you're going back to the original COD, right, and this is something I mentioned it the other day and it just jogged my memory and came back to me. Call of Duty itself, if you're talking about like the original COD, is turning 20 next year. In 2023, because the original COD came out in 2003. So if you've been playing since the original COD, you've been playing the franchise for 20 years. And that's actually absurd, dude. I've been playing since 2007. It's been 15 years for me. That seems like a very long time. But 20 years, that is something else. But if you go back to the old days, right, if somebody were to have made a new account on Call of Duty 4, you always wanted that friend to host because you got into easier lobbies. It was like always based on the host of the lobby. But in general, lobbies weren't as sweaty, it didn't seem like back then. But then as Call of Duty has progressed, as the player base has gotten better and better, and as skill-based matchmaking has become thicker and thicker, it's very clear that if you're a good player, you're straight up punished for being good. I mean, your teammates oftentimes are not going to be as good. The enemy team is typically going to be super sweaty, and it seems like you're almost punished for being good because you have to carry bad teammates and face good enemies, and that doesn't feel good unless you're somebody who's always just trying to find the sweatiest lobby possible, which is not very common considering the fact that we're talking about just normal public matches here. If we're talking about ranked play, that's one thing, but if you're like me, and self-serving, it feels weird, but like if you're like an above average player like I am, and you're just trying to level up your guns, which is what I was doing in Vanguard, like what kept me playing Vanguard for as long as I did play it was just going for something as simple as atomic camo. And with all the weapon levels that we have in a game like Vanguard, I'm sitting out there with my Bren trying to get long shots and prone kills at the same time, facing people that are scuff jumping me around corners with things like the STG and the MP40. That feels really bad, and people are playing that way, one, because the player base is like that, but also skill-based matchmaking is like literally forcing me to face people like that when I'm trying to get Bren prone kills or whatever it was I was going for. I think the prone kills were actually with sniper rifles, but still, like, you guys get what I'm saying. Like, it feels really bad to have to sweat every single game and be punished every single game and have like matches feel like they're almost predetermined based on the algorithm and like whether or not it decides you're allowed to have fun that particular match based on your recent performance with like engagement optimized matchmaking. It sucks. It really does suck. It's not fun if you're somebody that's like an above average player, but from like a newer player's perspective, I can kind of see how having your handheld would feel good. But then we've always had the argument, I've brought up the argument many times, where back in the day, right, back in 2007, back in COD 4, back when we thought skill-based matchmaking like really didn't exist, you know, I sucked. Everyone sucks when they first start playing COD, you know. I remember specifically, like, after like 6 months into the, you know, playing the game, I had like a .77 KD. I can remember that because it was easy to remember. It's a .77. And I wanted it to be a 1.0. Like, that was like my big goal, was to get a positive kill death ratio, because I was negative for so long. I had tens of thousands of kills with a negative KD. And slowly but surely, through just playing the game and learning the game, and occasionally getting a little help watching YouTubers like Hutch and Wings and Beyond and Scoreboard and XCal and Blame Truth and all the old school guys, you know, I eventually got better and better and better, and then my KD got to like a 1.0. I think to this day it's like a 1.2 in COD 4, but I went from that 0.7 with tens of thousands of kills to like a 1.2 with like 100,000 kills, you know. And it felt really good to watch that progression, be that kind of person that like was dying to helicopters and airstrikes all the time, and then suddenly I'm the guy calling in the helicopters and airstrikes all the time. Like, that progression felt nice. And I don't think that people with skill-based matchmaking get to really experience that same journey. They don't get to actually improve as players. I feel as though they're probably, and I don't have, you know, stats to back this up, but I feel like they probably stagnate in this pool of just like lower skill players that never actually get any better. Because if you're only facing people of a similar skill level, how are you going to rise out of that skill level? Sometimes you got to face people that are better than you. Sometimes you got to face people that are worse than you. You know, sometimes everyone just needs to get thrown into a lobby based on connections so you can stop lagging around and just may the best man win in that environment where everyone is just thrown together based on connection. I remember back in the day, going back to the idea of like skill-based matchmaking not being as thick, my area code. That was in, like, my area codes was in the clan tag of so many people I would face back in COD 4 and World at War. It was everywhere. Like, it just, because back then, like, no one really had clans or anything. They just did whatever. They would do the M40AE thing, or they would just do the Y-Try kind of clan tags. But oftentimes, like, people would put their area codes in their clan tag. And I faced people from around me all the time, way back when. Obviously, that's just you know, that's not like hard evidence or anything like that. But I remember that. It was a very distinct thing that happened all the time. And that doesn't happen anymore because I feel as though they're throwing people from all around the country together based on how the game perceives your skill to be, and then just has you go at it. So it feels really bad. But apparently skill-based matchmaking, according to an associate, within Activision that is giving us information through Revamp. They're claiming that skill-based matchmaking is going to get reworked in one way or another with Modern Warfare 2022. So sorry for the weird cut in the video right there. So remember at the very beginning how I said it was like thunderstorming and raining and I was going to maybe potentially like have that be noise in the video? My power went out mid-recording. I was like, no, it sucks so bad, like, if something like that were to happen, because it's really hard to replicate, like, the same energy, the same flow with a video and things like that, but, it was saved. Audacity, the program I use to record my audio, it's saved. And yeah, so weird cut in the video, but there we go. But going back to it, that same associate within Activision that told Revamp that skill-based matchmaking is there to stay and that's going to be getting reworked, apparently disbanding lobbies are still going to be a factor because disbanding lobbies are kind of like what makes skill-based matchmaking work. And I know Exclusive Ace, for example, is going to be upset about that if it turns out to be true. And I'm upset about it. Most people are, because disbanding lobbies feels really bad in COD. It always has, it always will. Like, I remember back in the day, I sound like an old man when I make my videos, I swear, but back in the day, it was kind of fun. You get into a lobby, there's like some guy trash talking, you guys gotta, you know, go back and forth at it, and sometimes you make friends that way. Like, all my online friends, I met that way, like playing COD against them and being in a lobby and playing Search and Destroy, and then being like, you know what, you and I are like usually top of the leaderboard here, why don't we just back out and play together? That sounds like a good idea. And that's how I made some like lifelong friends. Like, literally Nick from Texas used to be like, that's some loud thunder, I don't know if you guys heard that, but Nick from Texas is like a lifelong like online friend I've had for a long time. I met him in World at War Search and Destroy. He's been in plenty of videos on my second channel. So disbanding lobbies is horrible. I don't like it, but apparently it's here to stay even with this revamped skill-based matchmaking system. And the associate gives us one final bit of information. That bit of information is, with Modern Warfare 2022, there may be PvP VE lobbies. And what I mean by that is like player versus player, obviously, and then player versus environment, which is AI. The idea is if you are like real bad at COD, like going back to that old Exclusive Ace video where he like tanked his stats and like was able to get in some low skill-based matchmaking brackets, if you're like one of these players who like very clearly can't like walk straight, let alone shoot straight, you may be put into like AI bot lobbies for the DMZ mode as well as Warzone 2. And I think that may actually be a good thing. It may be a terrible thing. I feel like if you're this level of player like that we saw in the Exclusive Ace clip, then you probably should be in a protected bracket of some sort. I'm obviously very anti-skill-based matchmaking, but if you're someone that's like that bad, you know, maybe playing against bots to get your footing may actually be a good thing. If you look at other games like Fortnite, for example, if you're new to Fortnite or if you're bad at Fortnite, then there are going to be bots in your lobby. In full disclosure, I'm pretty bad at Fortnite, therefore there's sometimes bots in my lobbies. That system works pretty well in a game like Fortnite, and they specifically only mentioned the new DMZ mode that's going to be coming in Modern Warfare 2022 and Warzone 2 as well. They didn't mention like normal COD multiplayer, so I guess we'll have to wait and see if there's going to be like bot lobbies. Apparently the updates in AI are going to make it so they can like track down Smurfs and things like that and keep them out of those lobbies. But I guess we'll have to wait and see, guys. I think we're going to have to wait and see. But it's leak season for COD. Lots of information. Once again, take it all with a grain of salt. But the news here is that obviously there's some quote-unquote gameplay leaked. There was inspect animation. You know, there you have it. And then skill-based matchmaking is going to be reworked. Possibly for the better, maybe for the worse, probably for the worse. Guess we'll have to wait and see. Then PvPvE lobbies as well as expanding lobbies are going to be potentially a thing as well within Modern Warfare 2022, the DMZ mode, as well as Warzone 2. But guys, that is all for this video. I'm going to wrap up before my power goes out again. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider leaving it a like. Leave your thoughts and feedback down there in the comments, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.